From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Just hear those sleigh bells jingling, ring, ting, tingling too.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill in Tallahassee, Florida. Coming up on today's show, the Noles know where they're going bowling. Hear from the coaches, hear from Ira Schoffel, all about the Cheez-It-Bowl, Noles versus Sooners. Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. Monday's lunch special, you all know, it's usually a victory burger. There's no victories to be had. Well, I guess we're going to a bowl game staying in Florida, so there's a victory for all of us, right? Go check them out, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., daily lunch specials. Comes with a side, only $8.99. The burger, Angus beef, it's good. You will not be disappointed. Tots, curly fries, straight fries, whatever you want. It's all available there, right on your plate. Feast your eyes on all the screens. Play some billiards. Challenge somebody to a game of darts. World's your oyster, always, all the time, at Corner Pocket Bar and Grill off Appalachia Parkway. Correct, Corey? Disagree with anything I said there?
No, you nailed it. And also, it's a good place for bowl season, Aslan. All the bowls will be on there. Some of them, even like the early ones, like I can't even, what do
Famous
we call it? The
Potato
Bahamas
Bowl, the Cure Bowl.
Yeah.
Bad Boy Mowers.
Yeah, like when you're watching the MAC teams, it's still football, right? And it'll be on at the Corner Pocket. You can bet your bottom dollar.
Corey, myself, and Ira talked about, gave our instant reaction, rather, to the announcement of the Cheez-It-Bowl. You might have seen it already on YouTube. Our YouTube viewers, sorry, we're going to repackage it. We'll have it later on in the show, though. But again, Florida State, December 29th, Orlando. Is it still called the Citrus Bowl? No, Camping World Stadium. I'm sorry, Camping World Stadium. I should know. I was there 2016. We'll start our season there next year as well. So it's Thursday, December 29th, 5:30. We are the first pick after the ACC gets its team into the New Year's Six situation. So with that, the Cheez-It-Bowl selected the Florida State Seminoles, and they got from the Big 12, Oklahoma. Could have been worse, right? Of course, I see a couple people, and I don't want to extrapolate too much. You see one or two people complain on the internet. You don't want to think that means there's a large percentage. That would not be good for me. But a couple people like, we would have rather played Oregon. They're ranked in the Holiday Bowl. Wish we would have had Texas. They're not even ranked Oklahoma. I'm totally fine with it, man. I'm excited. I think Oklahoma's going to pack out the city. I think good clash of styles, if you will, somewhat, because they got a good offense. Let's see if this defense can hold up against a good quarterback. We think Dylan Gabriel's going to probably play. I'm excited on the whole for it.
Yeah, I am too. I think it's a cool matchup of two powerhouse programs, or at least powerhouse brands. They're not. I would necessarily call them powerhouse programs here because they are playing in the Cheez-It-Bowl. But that being said, yeah, Florida State deserved a higher quality opponent for the season they just had. But we also have to keep in mind, like, that's a weird complaint because it's 2022. You have no idea who even's going to be on that Oregon team when the game is played. It's opt-out season, guys. If you're not playing in a playoff game, there's a good chance the really good players from Oklahoma or Oregon, maybe Florida State, won't play if they're going to go pro. So I don't know, man. I think a bowl game is a bowl game, and it's at least a cool brand name. I think the Florida State Oklahoma that'll get a lot of eyeballs, which is cool, man. It'll be another high-profile, nationally televised, the only game in the window matchup for Florida State. It'll be their fourth this year with LSU, Louisville, Florida, and now this one. They've won the first three in pretty exciting fashion. So maybe this one will be a good one too. But I just think, look, there's really nothing to lose. I know it. Yeah, you don't want to lose to a 6-6 team, but again, it's an exhibition. I didn't have this opinion 7, 8, 10 years ago. But this is what college football is now. It's an exhibition, bowl games, because it's going to be. I know the way Venables was talking on Sunday afternoon in a hastily arranged Zoom press conference. Good night. We got on there though. Warchant was there, baby. 4 minutes warning, and we were there, ready to go. It sounds like they're going to be missing some starters, and they're going to have. I think their best player on the offense is a tackle that's probably a first-round pick. And I feel like it was already kind of talked about, it was already assumed, or he already said that he would not be playing, because, that's what Venables was talking about. It's like, look, they're going to have to be going up against one of the better defensive ends in the country, so it's going to be a trial by fire real quick.
Yep.
He was talking about his young linemen. They have to get ready for this game. It sounds like they're going to have guys in the portal, guys that aren't playing, guys that are hurt, well, just like every other team in the country. But, yeah, man, I just, it'd be awesome to cap this season with a win. No matter if against 6-6 Oklahoma or 8-4 Oregon, I don't know, man. The most important thing to me is it's in Florida. Not just because I don't like to fly and I want to drive. I think it's a really great chance for a lot of Florida State fans from around this state to go celebrate this team one last time.
Well said, Corey. It's by the way, Wanya Morris is the offensive lineman you're talking about. Formerly of Tennessee, transferred over to Oklahoma, graded out at 76.6. He was their highest graded out offensive lineman of the entire season. He did announce earlier last week that he does plan on going into the NFL draft and opting out of the bowl game. That was on December 2nd. So
there you go.
That'll help. And then maybe that wets the beak a little bit of Jared Verse then, right? Like, all right, that guy's going to be gone. And that makes maybe path of least resistance to putting on some more good tape. Although maybe iron wants to sharpen iron, but
right.
On the whole, though, I did find Brent Venables quite reverential towards what Mike Norvell's done at Florida State and this sort of matchup. Florida State not maybe getting necessarily the amount of national publicity they deserve at this point, being on, what is it, a 5-game win streak? Can't even keep track.
Yeah, come on, Aslan. Yeah, they all stack together. It's not 29. We get it. It's only 5, but it's still a nice streak.
Yeah, 7 straight games over 200 yards. Jordan Travis obviously looking as great as he has. All the guys on these all ACC teams. Patrick Payne, Rookie of the Year. They remain 13 in the playoff. I think the dudes who know football, even guys like Chris Felica, the Bear, him and Herbst were talking about, if they did have a 12-team playoff right now, you don't want to play Florida State. Definitely think Brent Venables has a lot of respect for not only Mike Norvell, but also Jordan Travis. The two pieces that have really turned things around here of late for Florida State.
Oh, well, yeah, and he's got really an interesting perspective, a lot like Brian Kelly in the climb of Mike Norvell. Because, I know they didn't get to play in 2020, Brent Venables' Clemson team against that horrible Florida State team, but they didn't know that until Saturday morning. So they watched film all week of that Florida State 2020 team. And he saw what a horror show it was. And he knew that, number one, Florida State was going to be lucky to score 10 points, and Clemson could score 100 if it wanted to. Like, he knew how big a mismatch that was and how bad that program was. So he saw, he saw that film. He watched every play of that season. So, and then last year, they were losing with 5 minutes left. And now he sees, they're 9-3 and 13th in the country, and they beat Florida and Miami, and they're beating the crap out of everyone not named Florida. This is like, I think he really does appreciate, I can't imagine how much film he got. He couldn't have watched any film by the time he was talking to us. They just found out they were going. But he's been keeping, track from afar. It sounds like, it actually sounded like somebody gave him a real quick bio run of Florida State. Like, hey, here's some talking points. They're really good. And I'm not blaming him. How could he have watched a lot of Florida State football? That said, they did play on a few nights where there was nothing else on. He might have been the Friday after Thanksgiving. He might have been feet up on the table watching the Noles. That could have been something he was doing. But yeah, he was very reverential about how he built it the right way too. That's what he said. He's like, he built it the right way. He had his foundation, his vision. He went and got guys out of the portal that fit, but not any guys out of the portal that fit what he was trying to do. You could tell. I know coaches always talk up other coaches, but it really did seem genuine there. Because I think, again, Brent Venables saw what that he saw what it was like in 18 and 19 too. Yeah. What were they up 42-0 in 19, and then in 2018 they won 59-10. So he's seen Florida State at its absolute worst. He knows what kind of problem Mike Norvell had to try to figure out how to solve when he got to Tallahassee. And now he sees a 9-3 record, a second-place finish, a 13th ranking, and he knows, because he saw it firsthand how bad this program was. And now, you hope on December 29th he'll see firsthand how good it is.
Yeah, right on, man. And just to follow up a little bit more on some of the I got to the press conference late. Shout out to Corey of all dudes. He was the one that saw the email. He jumped on the press conference.
What does that mean? That seemed like a backhanded compliment.
You're a father. You got a lady. You got two houses you got to tend to. You write columns. You're watching basketball. A lot on your plate this weekend.
Not really. I think that you're thinking about Ira. But I was just, I got it on my phone, and I'm like, wait, that doesn't say 4:15 like in 4 minutes from now. Yeah. Certainly that's Monday or Tuesday. No, it was right then. But we did it. We made it. We made it happen.
By the way, shout out to 5-star. You'll hear from him shortly. Thumbs up, by the way, if you're listening to us on YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review.
And Ira asked probably 30% of the questions.
I mean, that's what he does, everybody.
That's what he does, but it was awesome because we needed it because not everybody was raising their hand, and I was transcribing, so I wasn't asking any questions. I wasn't even on camera. So, Ira did his part as well. Crushed it as usual. Wanya
Morris and Anton Harrison, their starting tackles, will not play. That was said on the conference call. Eric Gray, their overall top-rated offensive piece, running back, graded out at 90. He's not going to play. And then defensive lineman Jalen Redmond is not going to play as well. So that's at least 4 dudes for sure. Redmond kind of middle of the pack in terms of the grading on PFF defensively for them. But all those other guys, I mean, starting tackles, number 1 running back. I mean, Jalen Redmond's number 9th ranked guy defensively for them, 8th in terms of guys that have really gotten over at least 300 snaps this season. So.
And they are not good on defense to begin with.
No, they are not. They are 120th in yards allowed out of, I think, 131. So 120th in yards allowed and then 98th in points allowed. They're allowing 29.6. They're allowing 450 yards this season. So they got a pretty decent offense, though. So it'll be fun. I think the over. But I'll leave that to Jeff and Tom to guide you folks because I did horrible in my picks, which we'll get to.
Yeah. Well, I think I finished 500 on the year, which is we're not making money if we're doing that, are we, gang? But going back to Oklahoma real quick. Dylan Gabriel is their quarterback. He transferred from UCF after Caleb Williams transferred out. I can't. What do Oklahoma fans think of Lincoln Riley for doing that? I guess that's just what happens. Jackson State's about to experience it too.
They were happy. I bet you there was. I can't imagine there was any. There were probably more. There's more joy in Norman, Oklahoma on Friday night than Salt Lake City, Utah.
Close, right? Because how awful would it have been to watch that guy in a playoff his first season over there with taking maybe one of your 2 or 3 best quarterbacks of all time with him. That guy's that quarterback's nuts. I can't tell you who I voted for the Heisman, but I did vote on Saturday night.
Attaboy, Corey.
And a few of the people I voted for played this weekend. I'll just say that. But yeah, man, when you think about the Oklahoma's offense, they do have a good offense. Like they got crushed by Texas, but Gabriel didn't play. When Gabriel plays, they keep it close and they score points. But when Gabriel played, they had their 2 starting tackles, probably.
And their starting running back, which they're not going to have.
So also, when you just think about it, and I'm not a handicapper, I'm not out here trying to tell you how to bet your money if you do that. But man, Florida State, I think, not only do I not think they'll have a lot of opt-outs, but they are playing for something. Like Mike Norvell mentioned it 3 times in his 12-minute media availability about 10 wins. He's not shying away from that goal. He thinks that's a very important goal. It is, I guess. It's a really nice feather in the cap of a fun season to get to 10 wins, to double your win total in 1 year from 5 to 10. That doesn't happen a ton. So I think Florida State will have. They are going to be, and it doesn't just matter. What's that day? Thursday? It's Thursday the 29th?
Correct.
It doesn't matter who is more invested Thursday at 5:30 when it's kicked off, because you're on a football field, man. You don't want to get pummeled. Oklahoma's probably going to play hard, the guys that are there, but how invested are they the next 2.5, 3 weeks? Because Florida State just the way they talk and the way he runs this program, I think they are aiming everything at getting to 10 wins. I think it's what they're going to talk about. That's what they're thinking about, and it's going to matter to them. So motivationally, Florida State has an enormous edge in this game. Now, it doesn't mean you can't lose it, but one team, new coach, sounds like a lot of the good players won't be taking part. They didn't have a very good season anyway. They might be ready to just get it over with and get on to next year against a team that wants to finish a breakout turnaround season in style. It just feels like a pretty good matchup for Florida State. Plus, they have a horrible defense, and you score on everyone you play.
Yeah. really interested to see also how things play out starting today when the portal opens up. I mean, there could be other players from Oklahoma that might want to just, find greener pastures, if you will. So we'll have all that covered for you folks.
Venables was real. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That's all at Warchant, though, gang.
Mm-hmm.
It's the portal's going to be wide open starting. It's like Christmas. So, yeah, be on Warchant because it's going to be updating and it's going to be late breaking. It's going to be all day. It's going to be all week. So that's your portal destination. That's where you want to be getting all your portal news. But it was funny when Venables was talking about that. He's like, he was talking about guys that were in the portal. And again, I haven't followed Oklahoma closely, so I don't know if he was talking about guys that have already entered the portal or guys that he knows will go. But he's like, look, some of them want to go to other places because they want an opportunity to start. And other guys just did not produce for us at all this year. Had no production at all on the field. Basically saying good riddance, we don't need you anyway. It was interesting to hear a coach talk like that. Like he was not upset at all. It did not seem like by some of the kids that are in the portal or about to be in the portal.
Yeah, I mean, I think even earlier in the season when they were going through their losing streak, I think even during one of his press conferences, he did kind of a, if you don't want to be here, go ahead, leave. Not even like those who stay will be champions. Just sort of like, if you want to leave, please go. We don't need you here. So I'm sure he's probably excited for Monday to come here and let these guys kind of show their cards, if you will. So, but do check us out over on warchant.com as we get you ready for all the happenings in and out of the portal. Your favorite athletes, meanwhile, they're striving to put themselves in winning position. I try to put myself in winning position. I did over at my bookie, put the over on the Michigan-Purdue game. Got some doll hairs on that one, but everything else I picked for you folks, I missed out on. But maybe you guys can help me out as we move forward. My bookie, though, has the biggest online selection of odds and contests to fill all your sports betting needs anytime, anywhere. You can bet on the NFL, NCAA. Bowl season is going to be big. All you got to do is sign up at mybookie.ag. Use the promo code WARCHANT. And you can get a deposit bonus of up to 10% on your first one. So use that promo code WARCHANT to claim a brand new deposit bonus designed for bettors that are looking to get their cash in and then get their cash out. Corey and I both had UNC +9, which would have been great if Cade Klubnik would have stayed on the sideline.
Yep.
He did not. He came in and was like, hey, man, I'm pretty good, everybody. I'm here. Thanks, Dabo, for sitting me the whole time. So,
that's not what FSU fans necessarily wanted to see.
Not really. Not really.
You're kind of hoping DJ would go, I don't know, 18 of 34 for 250, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and then Cade goes in the portal. Like, I'm never going to beat this guy out. I got to go somewhere else. But it apparently, I would assume DJ will be in the portal very quickly.
Yeah.
If it's not this month, it'll be before spring practice for sure.
I went 0 for. I'm 7-11 on the year. Corey's 9 for 9. He did get the Purdue game right. He took the 17 points. They did keep it within that margin.
They're getting to get one. Good.
I took Michigan. Thought they would be able to blitz by. They did not. And I also thought that maybe Deion would be a little bit distracted with a possible job looming, but he trounced Southern by more than 17.5 points, so I went over. Bowl season is mine. It'll be yours too. Go to mybookie.ag. Again, use that promo code WARCHANT. All right, now here's Ira, Corey, and I talking about the bowl when we first figured out about it, looking at some more of the bigger picture things and just how sought after Florida State apparently was, because it took a while for the announcement to come down. So here now, Corey, Ira, and myself from earlier on Sunday. So after a 2-year drought, Florida State back in the postseason, guys. First time they'll be in the postseason in the state of Florida, I think in 6 years since that Orange Bowl. The season will wrap up, Ira. We'll start with you because it's going to be part of the podcast, Wake Up Warchant with Corey and myself. The 2022 season will end where the 2023 season will pick up. That is in Orlando in the Cheez-It-Bowl against Oklahoma. Your thoughts on what this means for Florida State and wrapping up a pretty solid 2022.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a fan, from a fan's perspective, I think it's about as good as you could have hoped for. I know there were a lot of people at FSU, especially in the higher up levels, that were hoping maybe even Tampa for that ReliaQuest game, and there was a chance that could have worked out. But I think Orlando is a good spot. I mean, the one downside, I guess, for Orlando is the fact that you do open the 2023 season against LSU in that same stadium. So you end one season there, you start the next season there. But all things considered, again, it's in the state of Florida. That was one of the big things people wanted. It's a marquee matchup. It's a chance to play a big brand name team like Oklahoma in a year where they look very beatable. So I think from all those standpoints, it works out well.
Also, I think that's a little bit overblown, right? Like, do you think there's going to be people that won't go to this game because they're going 8 months later, or vice versa? Like, well, I was going to go watch the LSU game, but I watched them play Oklahoma, so now I'm not. I think the best case scenario was probably Jacksonville, just because you hadn't been there in so long, and it's not Orlando. But, man, it's a really good thing for this fan base to be in the center of the state where you know you're going to have a lot of fans that want to come celebrate this team.
We get to paint the town red. 2 blue bloods going into Orlando there, Ira. This will be the 8th meeting between the two teams. First ever time they played, Florida State took them down in Jacksonville in the Gator Bowl back in '65. We all remember that one fondly, 36-19. Since then, it's been all Sooners. But just in terms of, I guess, being back here in the state of Florida for this kind of game, not going out to the Holiday Bowl, how big of a boon is that for this staff, you think, Ira, to be in the state of Florida for the entire month? They can focus on all their recruiting efforts and game prep and not have to worry about going cross country to play in a bowl game.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a big benefit. You know, sometimes if you get a bowl game in Atlanta or in Miami or in, you know, another area where you want to do some recruiting, it can kind of work out pretty well. But I don't know that California is going to be a huge emphasis of what Florida State does in recruiting. And then, like you said, most of the recruiting they're going to do is in the Southeast. So you'd be going back and forth. So, yeah, I think it works out for every reason. Now you may be able to have some guys at those practices. You might have high school coaches. Mike Norvell is a big proponent of getting high school coaches to his practices, and I think bowl games are a perfect opportunity to do that. So, yeah, for a lot of reasons, I just think it works out really well, and for a lot of different reasons.
Corey, I think momentum, I think, is overrated when you talk about bowl performance and what it means for the next season coming up. But just to focus on this season, if Florida State's able to close it out, 10 wins against an Oklahoma team, I mean, that brand, obviously not to their sort of standards here of late, but what would it mean in terms of putting a bow on this 2022 season for you, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's what matters most. I don't know about kickstarting the 2023 season. By the way, interestingly, isn't LSU in the other Cheez-It-Bowl against Purdue? So they finish their season where their season's going to start next year too. So each team's getting a look at Orlando 8 or 9 months early, and that will be a much bigger game than these bowl games. But yeah, I just think it would be a really cool finish for this team to finish with 10 wins. I think that's all it really matters. It's a feather in the cap, much like I'd equate it to 2010. You know, that was a nice season for Jimbo in his debut season. It just felt so good to finish with that 10 wins, beat a SEC team. This time, if you win, you're beating a blue blood. I know it's not the Oklahoma of even, I don't know, last year, 2 years ago. They're struggling and they are terrible on defense. But man, it would just be a really nice finish to start 4-0, 3-game losing streak, then rip off 6 straight wins to end the season and probably finish top 10 in the country. That is a great third year for Mike Norvell.
And I think that's why, to Corey's question earlier about the attendance, that's why I don't think it's going to be a big impact, because I think this game is very much different from that next game. You know, if this was in the middle of 5 straight bowl appearances, I could see that being a factor. But this is the first time in a few years Florida State's been to a bowl game. It's people fell in love with this football team, this particular team, and what this team has done this season. It would be a chance to win a 10th want So, man, of course, people are going to want to go to that game. And then on the other side, starting next season against LSU, that's going to be a big-time game. That may be a top 10 matchup. We don't know based on who all returns from both schools and who they get in the portal. And so that's, I think on their own, they both are going to be very highly anticipated, highly attended games. So I agree. I don't think it's going to be a big loss either way.
And also, are bowl games that are played in Shreveport and El Paso, are they really bowl games? Come on, gang. I know y'all went to, or Ira, you went to both of them. I just got to enjoy Shreveport. But the point being, nobody was excited about those games. No, the fan base, I mean, there were a couple thousand maybe at both those games, like diehard Florida State fans. This is the first bowl game that's felt like a Florida State bowl game. Matchup-wise, season-wise, location-wise, in a good long while. Well, since 2016, in 6 years.
Ira, this tweet here from the Cheez-It-Bowl, I mean, what does it mean for Florida State, I guess, to ultimately go to this bowl game? Because, once a New Year's Six bowls pick theirs, get their team slotted. This Cheez-It-Bowl, they had the first dibs on the ACC. They picked Florida State. I guess that just maybe underscores how solid this brand still is, or maybe is back in terms of relevancy.
I mean, there's no doubt. I think every bowl in Florida wanted Florida State. The Orange Bowl would have loved to have had Florida State. I think the Orange Bowl people were not happy that Clemson lost last week against South Carolina, because that meant they were likely going to the Orange Bowl, which they are, and they're going to play Tennessee. And it's kind of a good game, and it helps them that Clemson looked good on championship weekend. But Clemson faded down the stretch, and their fans probably aren't all that fired up to go to a bowl game after being in all these playoffs. So, The Orange Bowl would have loved to have Florida State. The Gator Bowl would have loved to have had Florida State. The Cheez-It-Bowl, and also I think ReliaQuest. I think the Tampa Bowl would have liked them. They just couldn't do it because of the way things worked out. So, yeah, Florida State, I think, would have been the top choice for any of these bowls in the state of Florida. It just worked out where Cheez-It kind of got their pick.
What happened 2 years after we played the last bowl game in Orlando, Corey?
I don't know. Are you quizzing? Oh, they won a national championship. That's right. They beat Notre Dame, came back from, I think, a 14-0 deficit at halftime, or 14-3, and beat them. They played Wisconsin there a few years before that. So they have a history in Orlando with bowls. Again, I'm really excited about that. It's cool. Look, no offense to Texas Tech, but when that name was being rumored about as being maybe the other team, I'm like, all right. But Oklahoma just adds some juice. Now, I don't know how excited their fans will be to come watch this team on December 29th, but it does get them out of Oklahoma for the holidays. So that's more of a weather dig than the state dig. I mean, you're going to have nice weather, and it's Orlando. It's a destination city. So that maybe it'll be a real bowl atmosphere with 50-50, but I would think you would imagine, right, Ira, like 75-25, 80-20 Florida State fans. It might be hard to differentiate because the colors are so similar, but I really think Florida State's going to have, I don't know, 40,000, 50,000 people at this game.
Yeah, I would think it'll be heavily favored to Florida State. Now, although if Dylan Gabriel plays for Oklahoma, he's got the Orlandoans might be fired up for their former guy. There's a lot of interesting subplots from that standpoint. I mean, like we said, this is an eminently winnable game. This is a 6-6 Oklahoma team. Like you said, it's really bad on defense. But when Dylan Gabriel's played, their offense has done well. Like the game that stands out is that 49-0 to Texas, but he didn't play. In the games he played, I mean, they lost a lot of those good games to Kansas State and TCU and Texas Tech, but they were in them. So I don't know that this is going to be. I think some people are thinking, oh, this is a great chance for Florida State to cruise to 10 wins, but it's going to be a good game.
The clutch shot, the biggest hits. It's time for the Zaxby's Indescribably Good
Player of the Week.
You heard the man. Time for the Zaxby's Indescribably Good Player of the Week. We bid adieu to the soccer team who made it to the College Cup. They made it to the Final Four, but the defending champs will not ultimately be able to repeat. The volleyball team made it back to the national tournament. They bowed out quickly. But how about this basketball team? 9-1 start, the ladies, that is. Brooks got them playing, Corey. Tanaya Latson, you pointed her out several weeks ago. She just keeps on keeping on, man. 83-48 win over Stetson yesterday. She poured in 24 points. She has now led or co-led FSU in scoring in every single game this season. That's indescribably efficient, almost indescribably good. Shoot, it is indescribably good. So Tanaya Latson, freshman, my selection for Indescribably Good Player of the Week from our friends at Zaxby's.
Yeah, she's going to end up – she already is. I've seen enough. She's the best player in school history. After 10 games. I'll say it. I don't care. Woo! And they've had some great ones. She's the most talented, I should say. Okay. She's ridiculous. Go see her. I'm going to stay on the hardwood. Okay. And I'm going to give them a little love because that was a tough week they had, having to play number 5 Purdue at number 3 Virginia. But Matthew Cleveland had another strong game, I thought. He was good against Purdue. He had 11 and 10 against Virginia in Charlottesville in a 5-point loss. I have to imagine 10 rebounds is a career high. It's certainly a season high. And that's just what I wanted to see. The guy's competing, and he's competing on the glass. He might be starting to come around. I just appreciated the competitiveness of him and his teammates in that game to keep it close and be in the game in the final minute. But I feel like Matthew Cleveland is starting to come around. So he's my indescribably good player of the week, but I feel like I described it pretty well.
Nailed it. Resiliency from Matthew and just efficiency out of Tanaya. Our picks, Tanaya Latson and Matthew Cleveland, our Zaxby's Indescribably Good Players of the Week. All right, man, we talked about a lot about the Hoops team. Hoops teams, plural. You want to talk hoops, Corey, or did we do enough talking hoops? Did we do enough?
We can do hoops? A little bit, just a little bit. They don't play for a week, and it's against Louisville. And, folks, if you think Florida State has been struggling this year, holy cow. Anyway, go ahead, Aslan.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, you watched the game on Saturday. You know, listen, Purdue, they hung around the first half. They hung around first half at the John Paul Jones Arena. But I don't know, is it depth? Is it lack of ultimate talent? I mean, what's holding them back right now, and what's not going to help because they got some other news to pile on top of what they've already been dealing with here.
Yeah. Well, it's both those things. It's depth and a lack of talent, dearth of talent. But yeah, man, Cameron Fletcher, who might be their most talented player, is out for the year. He got hurt, toward his. I don't know what they didn't specify what the injury was. Looked like a lower leg injury at the end of the Virginia game. Maybe a knee. Maybe they even said knee. But I mean, it does matter to him. But for our purposes, Cam Fletcher is out for the year. Leading rebounder, probably the best athlete. He had been playing with a bad back anyway, but he hadn't been practicing. He just played in the games, and he had been struggling shooting, but he's still just. I mean, he's just a very talented, athletic player, and he's out for the year now. So probably your two best athletes, Jalen Gainey, the Brown transfer, and now Cam Fletcher are done for the year. Baba Miller does come back in, I guess, 3-4 games, but by that time you might be 3-11 or 2-12. But yeah, man, I was encouraged until we got that news Sunday night. I'd been really encouraged by the last two games. They competed against better teams. They didn't just if they'd have played that way against Nebraska in Siena, that they played against Purdue and at Virginia, they'd have won both those games by double digits. So at least they seemed to find some competitive spirit about them. They defended better. They rebounded better. They still can't shoot. Although Tom House came in and made a couple shots, and Darren Green's a very good shooter, but he's the only one. And then Cam Fletcher's probably their third best shooter, and he's done for the year now. So anyway, it's just going to be a long, long season, and I just don't understand, Aslan, who Leonard ticked off, man. I don't get it. Like, why are the basketball gods so mad at my guy? They owe him for 2020 already, and instead of saying, our bad coach, you don't have much time left to coach this wonderful sport, we're going to have some good luck come your way. No, they just cripple him with bad luck. The injuries last year were out of control, and then it's just kept going this way. And it's just unfortunate. It's just going to be another long season for a guy that doesn't have a lot of seasons left. So that's really kind of disappointing and frustrating.
It's Michael Jordan. It's Michael Jeffrey Jordan, man. He's holding a grudge. He did some.
Yeah, but he got that out of the way when he fired him. The grudge is done now.
What's the exit? I mean, what are we trying to get out of this season? Is it just one of these seasons like, Boston College? I mean, programs that are not Duke, Kansas, just don't deal with them, but everybody else pretty much does? Is it you just got to have, I don't want to say grin and bear it, but I mean, what's the takeaway? What's the exit ramp for this team?
There isn't a lot. Maybe you see something out of Cleveland as he can look. He's played three or four good games in a row now after he had an awful game against, I think it was Stanford down in Orlando. Hopefully the football team can perform better in that city than the basketball team did around Thanksgiving. But he's come back and played at least three strong games in a row now. He's been the kind of player we thought he was going to be when the season started. So that's been good to see. I guess you're just looking for development. Corhan, the freshman, Tom House, the freshman, Chandler Jackson, the freshman. You've got 20 games of experimentation just to see which one of these guys you can depend on moving forward, what you see, who you like, how you build around them. And then Baba Miller comes, and that gives you hope too. Now, he's not Kevin Durant. He's not going to turn this thing into a tournament team. He's not going to average 30 a game. He will be the most talented guy on the floor most nights, but he's also really young and has never played at this level, so they're going to be in enormous growing pains. So, yeah, you just kind of hope those guys gel. Personally, I would keep Caleb Mills off the ball as much as possible and let him just shoot and try to score. He was not good the other night at all. Again, not sure what's going on there. So I just think, to me personally, you build around the young guys. You try to develop a young core that you can complement them next year with some portal guys. They are going to have to raid the portal, I think, just to up the talent level in this program. But that's it. Just hope the young guys have some nice moments, get some confidence, win a few games to feel good about themselves, compete, and then prepare for something much, much better next year.
Yeah, well, shoot. Beat Louisville, then you'll be 500 in conference, and then you can build off that one. Again, also, Baba Miller suspended for the first 16 games, which tracks out to would make his return January 7th. 17th game of the season would be Georgia Tech. So, something to look forward to.
I keep thinking it's not a 14-game suspension. No, it's a 16-game.
16, yes, half the.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's like 50% of the season or whatever. So that's what it works out to. All right, how about something else to look forward to? Playoff? Are we cool with the playoff? Feel like we got it right, or I'm glad they seeded
they got it right.
I'm glad they seeded it to where Michigan doesn't have to face Ohio State again. I think Kirby will handle business. I think we'll get probably a rematch of the Orange Bowl, probably in the championship game.
Maybe. Like, look, I think the
TCU guy. We got a Horned Frog guy in the house.
I think
Sonny
it could
Dykes.
be,
let's go.
No, you said the Orange Bowl. I think it'll be. I think there's a decent chance it's Michigan, Ohio State. Look, man. I think they got it right too. Like,
you guys just put up half 100 on LSU.
They also gave up 500 yards passing to LSU.
Well, man, Garrett Nussmeier is a gunslinger.
Yeah, he's a gunslinger, man. They got a quarterback controversy in Baton Rouge, Aslan.
I think so.
Who's going to be starting against the Noles in Orlando? He was impressive. But yeah, I just look, Ohio State and Georgia. I think that spread is about a touchdown. That is not a cakewalk at all. Like, that's by far the best offense that Georgia will have faced, by far. And those guys are going to score a ton of points. And I don't always believe in Georgia's offense. Like, they look pretty good, obviously, against LSU, but I don't believe that they're just going to roll to 40, 45 points against Ohio State. I think that could be a really, really good game. But yeah, I thought they got it right. And I would have thought, I personally probably would have had Michigan won going into that weekend anyway, because I just think that win at Ohio State was by far the most impressive win anybody had all season. But they got the Final Four right, man. And I know I ripped Dabo a lot. Some people might have seen this tweet I had on Sunday. I don't know. I
liked it. I liked the actual tweet.
Yeah, I ripped Dabo a lot for a lot of different reasons. But he was asked, I was watching The Huddle, which is the post-game ACC show on the ACC network on Saturday nights. It's a good show, by the way. We should have given him more props this year. Like, that one show on the ACC network is really well done. It's got EJ, it's got Mark Richt. It's a good studio type show. Although this time they were in Charlotte for the championship game, and they asked Dabo. He gave Dabo a chance to say, because we had all seen Nick Saban I mean, that's such a yuck.
It's beneath you, Nick. You're better than that.
Exactly right. It was absolutely beneath you to politic. But anyway, Dabo was asked, like, hey, you're the conference champions, and you have 2 losses, and you're the conference champion. Make your case for why Clemson should maybe be included in the 4-team playoff ahead of teams that didn't win their conference championship, didn't even play for them. And he basically shook his head and smiled and said, we had our chance, which is the exact right thing. They did. They didn't deserve to be in the playoff. Neither did Alabama. And Nick Saban going on ESPN and Fox after Fox having him on after the Big Ten game was just nutty. And him bringing up point spreads as if that's how you saw.
Who'd be favored if we had these imaginary matchups? Huh? Ask yourself that. Like, what?
But it's like, Nick, I wish one of the announcers would have been, Nick, what if TCU had won today? You'd still be favored against them. Are you saying 10-2 Alabama deserves to be in over 13-0 conference champ TCU? Because if it only matters about point spreads, you would be favored the same no matter what their record was. Or, in fact, really what your record was. Like, Nick, if you had somehow not beaten that great Texas A&M Aggie team, if your team had not shown so much fortitude to hold on against Jimbo's incredibly talented, incredibly good Aggie team, and you guys were 9-3 instead of 10-2, you'd still be favored over TCU by 14 points. Since when is that a talking point? Who's favored? Florida State would have been favored over all national champions in the 90s. Every single one. I don't remember Bobby Bowden ever doing anything like that. I know y'all want to put Washington and Miami against each other, but are they going to split the title? Or Georgia Tech's playing Colorado? They didn't do that either. Georgia Tech played Nebraska. Colorado played. I was thinking of the teams that split titles but you know what I meant. But we'd have been favored over any of them. It's like, man, that's not how you judge. That's just not how sports has ever been decided. Yeah, man, you were also favored against Tennessee. You were favored against the other team you lost to, LSU. You lost to the LSU team that just gave up a half 100 to Stetson Bennett. And you're going to sit there on national television and talk about how you deserve to be in the playoff.
Go!
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done. That's a wrap. I'm glad I got it off my chest, though. I'm glad I got it off my chest. And congrats to Deion, former Nole, getting a head coaching job in the Power 5.
Power 5, yeah, Colorado. That room.
No news on Travis Hunter yet, right? He has not announced where he's going. He is certainly, folks, probably not going to stay in Jackson, Mississippi. Yeah. There is a bidding war for my man's services that probably started, 11 p.m. Saturday night.
Yeah. So that roster is being called the worst roster in Power 5. And not to judge a book by its cover, my parents didn't teach me that. But, man, if you see the video of him talking to those guys in their auditorium, it's like, is this like a sports management class and Deion's the guest speaker? Like, are these just regular undergrads just trying to get 3 credit hours?
Like, that does not look like a real physical football team, does it?
Not the Buffs, man. Not the Buffs. So best of luck to him. But it's funny. There's a lot of themes that we like around here that Mike Norvell talks about that he talks about it. Just in a different way he delivers it. So we'll see if it all works out for him. We'll be watching like hawks, some of us, some more than others. The portal opens today, though, Corey, and there's a couple guys like I don't know if guys from Stanford can come all the way over here, but man, one of the guys that got kicked off or suspended indefinitely in College Station, defensive back, Denver Harris, who was a midseason All-American according to some publications.
Okay,
he's put his name in the portal.
Okay.
Man, he graded out really good according to PFF. It's going to be really interesting to see.
Was he one of the guys that was smoking the weed in the locker room after the loss?
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's not a. I don't know the whole
allegedly,
story, though.
Allegedly, Corey.
Also, we don't know the whole story.
We don't.
I don't know that. Was it completely disrespectful? Was it just to calm his nerves after another tough loss? Like we don't know what was going on there, but not a great look. But we don't know the whole story, do we, Aslan?
We don't. But there's going to be just new names that are going to be popping up. It's crazy to think about just how much, possible turnover there could be again. And the good thing is that you really can trust the heck out of the staff, at least when it comes to evaluating guys that are going to fit in instantly. So, we talk about how exciting the playoff is going to be 2 years from now. They're going to expand to 12 teams. And, maybe I'm not the biggest – I'm a player health advocate, but maybe I'm not a player monetization advocate, but I do believe they should be able to move around. They should have the freedom to do that when we see coaches leaving in the middle of the night. I mean, quite literally here this past weekend. But maybe this sort of free agency actually will be kind of a cool thing to keep tabs on. There's going to be so many names, though, out there, and it's going to almost be up to you at home to figure out if this makes sense or not. Because a kid, like, a linebacker from Stanford, like, that makes sense. Well, does it really, though? Is he going to leave and come all the way over here? I mean, possibly. I mean, he's a captain, like, led them in tackles. But there's going to be just so many possibilities and options that it's just going to fuel just how optimistic you feel about Florida State next year, despite who they might lose.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, again, the most important thing you said was the first thing you said, that you can trust this staff. They are hitting at a really exceptional rate. And that was when they were selling the product of the last 5 years. Now they get to sell the product of this year. They get to sell the product of that nationally televised sellout against Florida, being sold out against Boston College. The way half the stadium in New Orleans being Florida State fans, all of that, the way they play, all the big plays they have, just everything that they. The way they're progressing, the way they're climbing, Aslan. I just think there's so much to sell that I'm just more interested in what the numbers are, how many they take. And again, go to Warchant, Langston, Ira, maybe myself at times, Gene for sure. We'll all be updating. Austin will be updating just the site, obviously, but also the portal, who's coming, who's going, because the Florida State's going to lose some too now. But yeah, I just think you have to trust this coaching staff, and I think when you can get on the message boards and talk about needs and everything. I still think, and I think you think this too, the biggest needs by far are the front seven, and I think they need. It's not like they're Georgia; they need help everywhere, but maybe not running back and maybe not receiver, but everywhere else. If there's a dynamic receiver, you would even certainly be like, yeah, all right, okay. But maybe one offensive lineman. I think you need at least 3 guys out of the front 7. I think you need at least 2 defensive linemen, probably 3, and I think you probably need a linebacker as well, maybe 2. Because I just think you don't have depth there Not the quality depth that you want to try to go compete with the Alabamas, Georgias, and Clemsons of the world.
What about we lose Fabian, but we add Dominic Lovett, leading receiver from Mizzou, 846 yards. He put his name in the portal. Just here as we were recording the show, DJ Uwe Ungalale officially now in the portal.
Man, I called that. Yeah. I called that 15 minutes ago. I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid, I get it. I get what he's doing, but man, I would have waited a little bit. That to me looks like, oh, you're going to bench me and this kid's going to be awesome? Well, screw you. I'm out.
Obviously. He doesn't have it, man.
Yeah, I know. But he maybe he even realizes, man, I'm just not as good as this guy.
Yeah.
But to me, when it's that quick right afterwards and you're not going to probably be there for the bowl, that to me seems like a little more petulant. Like, I'm just mad. I'm just mad that you benched me after 2 series.
Corey, it starts on Monday, man. He wants to go somewhere and probably play football.
Good point.
You got to get
You're a good point. It's a good point. Sorry, DJ. I get it. I was just saying as an old man how it strikes me, but that's probably accurate.
And how about this?
He played well in Doak. Maybe take a flyer on him.
I mean, shoot, he did well in the stead of Trevor Lawrence and kept them around to make it to a playoff.
That's right. He'd be a good backup quarterback to Jordan. You're right.
And if I may read this quote from a Brian Howell, beat writer for the Colorado Buffaloes and the Boulder Daily Camera, which is crazy. There's a newspaper called the Boulder Daily Camera, or is that just some sort of blog? Anywho.
I don't know.
Quote, tweet, Colorado Athletic Director Rick George was asked how Colorado University came up with the money to hire Deion Sanders. He said, quote, we don't have the money yet, but I know we'll have it, so I'm not worried about that piece.
I think that's a good way to end the show.
So that is that. We'll try to do a live show possibly this week. We'll definitely have a Renegade Express. And do stay connected for real with us on warchant.com because, again, the portal is opening up. And, there's been names. People might be like, well, how did the guy from Michigan? How did their backup quarterback? How's he already committed to Iowa? Well, Cade McNamara was a grad transfer. FCS Division II grad transfer guys were allowed to go ahead and announce and then get pursued and recruited legally. Backdoor dealing is probably going on in the interim here. But now that it's December 5th, underclassmen, Travis Hunter maybe, they can go ahead and put their name in the portal and become re-recruited once again. So we'll be on top of that for sure. From the top of the day from sunrise to sunset, because Tom will be up in the morning checking everything out, and Austin and Ira and Corey and Gene and Michael, and I'll tap in probably around like 10:30 or so. So be there, warchant.com. Check us out. As well as the Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 3 o'clock, 93.3 FM, as well as YouTube. For Corey, I am Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Please rate, review, subscribe. We'd appreciate it. Have a great one.